Howdy, Governor of Zimbabwe. Bless you. I welcome you here. Oh, yes, this is Mrs. Rant. Okay, I'm just here to rant. Happy Independence, Zimbabwe. Happy Independence, Bengarians. Okay, ndini ndinonzi Mai Mandela ndauya pano kuti nasi timbotaura kuti independence iyi muri kuiona sei. As you know, everyone has got a constitutional right to speak as they feel, and I speak as Mai Mandela. Well, first I must say I speak as Sabena Ruwizhi, aka Mai Mandela, aka Boeing 777. You know, this independence has provoked so many senses and so many emotions in all of us Zimbabweans around the globe, okay? It has taken me a very long time to prepare this life so that we can speak as Zimbabweans, okay? So the reason why I'm here is to highlight to the Zimbabwean government that we as Zimbabweans in the diaspora or in Zimbabwe, we're in pain. It's a pain where sometimes you look at yourself and you think maybe the government doesn't even understand. It's a pain where every Zimbabwean has kept it a secret, especially the ones in diaspora and the ones in Zimbabwe as well. So it's a catch-22. I went to Zimbabwe last year in February, and what I saw in Zimbabwe was just it was so painful to look as a human being. So you might not be a doctor, you might not be an economist, you might not be whatever, all these kind of names you want to put on a profession. But it's for your eyes to see and say, you know what, this is too much. For me, I was in Bare. I went round Bare, and it was just too much when I went to the shops. People were sleeping where they were selling their products, and they were cooking there. So we must understand that in Zimbabwe, it's not as easy as we want to say it is here on Facebook. Here on Facebook, we're just trying to imitate a certain character to make the audience happy, okay? So me as a Zimbabwean, I am standing here for the other Zimbabweans who are in the diaspora and who are in Zimbabwe as well. And we want to have a voice to the government and say, what is going wrong? What is really going wrong? Happy Independence. amai Mandela vanenge vachiita izvo zveudj ka vachimbobata uko vachimbodai so because ndizvo zviri kuitika. Okay, saka ndauya panapa kuti titaure kuti how happy are you neindependence iyi. Okay, do you feel kuti you are proud to be Zimbabwean, or do you feel there's something lacking? Okay, saka inini zvinhu zvandinotaura hangu ka, I'm just a messenger. Saka please don't shoot the messenger. Okay, because the messenger anongonzwa mahunga. Saka ndangoti nhasi independence rega ndingoita bring in together what people have spoken and what people come to my inbox and they say. Like I said, I come here as a citizen of Zimbabwe, and I come here as a mother, and I come here as a world citizen kuti tione kuti zvinhu izvi zvakamira sei munyika muno, because at the end of the day zvinhu zvatiri kuratidzana nezviri kuitika in reality, they are completely the opposite. Saka today I'm going to be here for at least an hour tichingoita explore zvimwe zvinhu zvamanga musingazive about Boeing 777. Today we are focusing on ED Chamisa. Okay, saka ED Chamisa uyu ka mazuano ari kuuya ari flamboyant. Unomuona vanhu vari kucreata maghost account akanyorwa kunzi ED Chamisa, obvoona Chamisa akadai oshaya kuti chii chiri kuitika. But Zimbabweans, it's high time we stop lying to each other. Kuti aiwa tiri kufara in the diaspora, because we need to understand most of our parents, they died in Zimbabwe without even going to Bindura. Okay, saka that's how patriotic they were. Okay, saka to say that tiri kufara in the diaspora, I personally think it's a complete lie, because as I stand, Amai Mandela, I've been in England for 19 years. I still weep in my heart and I still cry. I find bread and milk and meat at the local shop. But when I eat the food, I think of my people in Zimbabwe and I think, how are they surviving themselves? Okay? But bear in mind, I went to Zimbabwe last year in February, okay? And I told you that when I went through Kuwadzana and all those ghettos, yeah, the house you left with the motorway in front, there were like 4 or 5 markets in front. Saka pamberi pemba penyu, otoziya kuti pane mashops anenge 4. And all these shops, they were made in a black plastic bag, okay, to make it into a shop. Saka, this is the reality of it. And yesterday I was thinking, Kuti, if I was to go and live to Zimbabwe, how was I gonna afford to put my children in school? How was I going to afford to pay for their medication? How was I going to afford to pay for my rent? Because all that is tight for a Zimbabwean to go back to Zimbabwe. So this is why we are all stuck in the diaspora. And the sad part is that the people with the voice are the ones who are stuck more in the diaspora. That's why we have these celebrities representing us. So this is a direct plight to Mnangagwa or President Mugabe. Both of you, we look at you the way we look at you presidents, because we are Zimbabweans, we respect. You have not been told how much we Zimbabweans are suffering in the diaspora. When I mean diaspora, I mean outside of Zimbabwe, whether it's Zambia, South Africa, England, America. Deep inside, we are crying. who wants to leave their country? Where we live here in England, they live in their country like they're living in Highfields, Glenora, Budiriro, Borodale. But we have not been given that opportunity as Zimbabweans. And some of us have put on a good character in pretending that this is not happening. But the reality is, it is happening. Some people laughed and they said, look at your face, it's on the side. Yes, it's on the side because I was fighting my own freedom, I was fighting my own independence, which is the independence of my children. So maybe when I got shot with a taser gun, it could have caused this kind of disability, but I stand here and I'm not ashamed, and I will say it as it is. So I'm saying to the government of Zimbabwe that we Zimbabweans, we are not really happy, but we are afraid of you. So how can we speak to you when we are afraid of you? Not even were we afraid of the chiefs, the Mambos, the Ngangas, or our great-great-parents, you know, who kept the tradition intact. But we are afraid to speak for ourselves, to say, listen, we are suffering. Most of the people outside of Zimbabwe are suffering with severe depression, whether we like it or not. But we've got a way of pretending, which is okay, because you must keep your dignity. But just imagine you take a little baby baboon, or even, a little baby baboon, and take it somewhere else. Eventually to realize it doesn't belong there. So has this independence brought us happiness? Or most of us were busy weeping inside our hearts and saying, this should not be happening. Because like I said, I'm talking from experience, and I'm talking for me. That I have been in England. We had to look for papers in this country. So I didn't see my mother for maybe 14 years. So now, my mother died in 2011, and I had not seen her for 14 years because I thought where I had gone, there was greener pastures. So, like I said, this is a very, it's a very complicated issue to talk about, how we Zimbabweans are feeling personally in our hearts. But to lighten up things, let's just play some music for a while. Saka some of the Zimbabweans vataura vakati, you know what ka, isusu I think being poverty suits us. They said being poverty ka zvakatotofita, takatofitwa nekuva poverty. That's what some people said. And then some people now on social media, President Mnangagwa, is that people like Sisimeli are now working for you indirectly. Because they are now influencing people for you so that we can be straight. If you heard her last live, she said that please don't drink and drive, and please use condoms. And if you look at her group, it's got 100,000 people. Oh, maybe 75,000, but before it was 125,000. So it means she is now working for the Zimbabwean community for free without even being paid by the government. Rarely can we even hear what the government is saying. And if you look how desperate we are, Amnangagwa, we Zimbabweans, you can see how Tatalicious goes on her lives. She's even wearing bed sheets and she's looking like a sumo wrestler. And she says she's the queen of Zimbabwe. So can you see how desperate we've become? That some people, even some people in Zimbabwe, some men, they can't even afford to have wives because of the economy. So they've decided to turn gay. That's how desperate we've become as Zimbabweans. We are just speaking. This is Mrs. Rant. I'm going to rant here because this is Independence Day and we're going to speak the truth. Let's not hit the dog takaviga mpini. Let's say the truth as it is. At one point I saw that AKA, Bridget, I thought, she's Stacey Parker because I thought she was moving around Zimex Small. Because everybody was speaking in Shona. Little did I realize it's a place in South Africa where Zimbabweans are, and the whole street, they're speaking in Shona. We must understand as Zimbabweans, you remember when Nigerians came? How kind of discriminative were we, Nigerian? Even the women who date Nigerians, when they cook the Nigerian food, who would go, is this Nigerian? Oh, that's part of discrimination or even racism. So what I'm just trying to say is this: look at the people of Zimbabwe. We are suffering. And there is no two ways to say that I'm not suffering. I might eat food in my own house, but when I think of my neighbor, that's my conscience playing on me. So when I looked in South Africa, the street is all Zimbabwean. So how do the South African people feel when they see that? Because our own country is not performing enough. And why is our own country not performing enough? It could be for simple reasons, and not simple, but they can be simple if they're put to the surface. The more we try to hide this kind of existence and the history of us as Zimbabweans, the more complicated it's gonna become. So I am just trying to highlight to the Zimbabwean community that, listen, let's not pretend here we're all suffering in our own way. Just to be taken away from your environment, regardless of the situation, it could be political or economical. It's still a hard thing because you want to be free in your own motherland. So what I've just said here is to just say to the government of Zimbabwe that the people who are away from Zimbabwe, yes, we've managed to find our way because of intellect. But emotionally, we are suffering because we miss our motherland. We miss our home. But we know if we come home, we can't survive because home is more expensive than America or than England. But why is it so? Let's just do it. that the people who come in my inbox, they believe that I've got an answer. But the truth is, I don't have an answer. So that just shows how desperate we are as Zimbabweans, that if anyone comes, we just think they've got an answer, and we end up being sold the wrong goods. I don't have an answer, but I can just tell you, Semunyai, as a mediator, how people are feeling. In my inbox, because I did put a post and say, what would you change about the government? I'm going to tell you in points and try to explore what people were saying. So, one person said that we should not have any elections and we should appoint a president. So what they're saying is that we should not have elections, but we should appoint a president. So what they're trying to say is that, in the African community, that when something happens, you appoint the leader of the family, and this is done by the chiefs and the mambos of Zimbabwe. Okay, so they're saying that instead of doing elections, why can't we just appoint? That people agree of certain groups from Shishavane, Chipinge, and all those places, the mambos and chiefs, and say, this boy or this man has been working a lot. Let's appoint him to be the president. So let's not have elections, because elections can be rigged. This is one person who say that. So one of the citizens said that because we've got opposition party in Zimbabwe or in another country, but we speak for Zimbabwe, this is making the opposition party fight the current government. So when they fight the current government, we as citizens, we can't choose whether we want to be with the current government or we want to be the opposition. So we are left in the middle. Yet these two people are fighting, but the people who suffer the most are the ones below. So now people are doubting, is this politics really working for the Zimbabwean? Because it's actually causing division, which is divide and conquer. So you must respect this, or you must respect that. Otherwise, if we see you there, we won't like this and that. So that is now creating unemployment. It's now creating uneducated people. It's now creating people who are not married. Because all we are focusing on is politics and divide and conquer. But this now is going to affect Zimbabwe, because you can't fight somebody who's got nothing to lose. This is a very difficult topic, I must say. You can't fight somebody who's got nothing to lose. Even the national security won't be able to sustain the amount of force this person has upon you. So as the Zimbabwean government, we must be able to give the youth hope for the future. Because if the youth don't have hope, then they are going to be a weapon of destruction. So I'm here to just talk my piece as a Zimbabwean and to just explore with you and to tell you some of the inboxes I get in the messages I get in my inbox. Because when people hear me, Mama Mandela, they think maybe, I can speak for them. And that gives me so much conviction to say, okay, let me speak for the people. Some people are going to correct me, but I hope I am in the right path. Okay? So like I said, some people have said that we need to have like a political agenda tailored according to our tradition. Okay? So we need to understand that there is democracy, but we also need to understand that there is the chiefs, the mambos, and everything else. And the mahunga hunga, which is, the mahunga hunga, if you know, suggests that, back in the days we're talking about before independence, that the current government was sent to take the country away from the colonizers. But when they took the country away from the colonizers now, they didn't report back to their elders and say that, yes, we've taken the country. What's the next step forward? Instead, they had a contract with the European, with the colonizer. Okay? So, this is where I think the problem went. Because you, as an African child, if you have been sent by your adult, you must come back and say that, okay, this is what we've done, what next? But what they are saying that the current government or the ZANU-PF, they didn't go back to the elders and say that this is what transpired and this is where we are and where should we go. But instead, they were bought into the democratic or the democracy which was introduced by the European. And if you look at the democracy now, when the democracy was introduced and the churches were introduced, that's when ZAPU was created as a party, and that's when ZANU was created as a party. But then, when they gained independence, there's some speculation that the ZANU-PF unleashed the 5th Brigade to the ZAPU, which was the Gukrahundi, this and that. Like I said, I'm not a politician. I'm just here to speak as my Mandela, ex-prophetess, ex-convict, and this is it, and citizen of Zimbabwe, that we as Zimbabweans have suffered. And the points I'm putting across is for the government to try and weigh and see what really went wrong. So if you see politics when it was introduced, that's when we had ZAPU and ZANU fighting and one party unleashing the 5th Brigade to another party, and this Gukrahundi happens. So we must not hold on to the past, but we must focus on the future, because the past is an illusion, but the future is for us to hold. So one inboxer in my messenger said, if the leaders and chiefs of the past and present must join hands and make sustainable national agendas in alignment with the tradition before it's too late. So these people are saying, this person is saying that before it's too late, you see this president we call Mr. E.D. Mnangagwa, and you see President Mugabe. Imagine right now if they were to die today. Who would have run at a loss you or them. I guarantee you, it's me and you. Okay? So, even the Bible says that, I believe the Bible was edited, but let's not go there. Even the Bible says that we must pray for our leaders. But if you look at it now, when politics and churches came into play, they caused so much division, but that even ourselves cannot pray for our leaders. You see? So, like I said, God is really there. So it's really a hard topic to hold on to and to sustain and to put your points across. But as Zimbabweans, like I said, we've got the constitutional right to speak your mind, who you are, what you stand for, and what you want to pass the message. And what message you want to pass to the people, okay? There are some people who are very qualified in certain departments. Those are the people who approach you and they will tell you, such and such a point, you say the truth. And trust me, in my inbox, they are always flocking. So, we are going to approach back to the independence, yeah? I was watching one of the clips of Comrade Tongogara. Comrade Tongogara, you know, he put a point across that I should put a point to you guys to say what is the difference between socialism and capitalism. He went ahead and he said he would be happy a socialist. So look at it this way. We lost one hero called Comrade Tongogara. Are we ready to lose another hero called Comrade Robert Mugabe? Are we also ready to lose another hero called Idi Mnangagwa? Are we also ready to lose another hero called Nelson Chamisa, because we lost one hero called Morgan Tsvangirai without his causes being put across? Okay? So we need to really protect our elders, because the Bible clearly says, for those who believe in the Bible, you must pray for your politicians and your leaders. Here I've got a comment which says, politics has ruined our lives. It has failed us. Ngati dzokerei pakare pae gwara redare rechimurenga. Okay? So politics, some people might want to think, what is the difference between politics and the government? Okay, I'll give you that as your homework. But I'll give you a scenario, life without the government. Life without the government, it means you've got freedom of speech, you've got freedom of religion, you've got property, you've got movement, you can punish and you can imprison, and you don't have to pay any tax office. So if you look at it now, yeah, life without the government, that's how it is. And that's how we are living in Zimbabwe right now. And we are able to sustain that. That is the funny part, that Zimbabwe has been able to sustain almost life without government. Because the reason why you have the government is because you've got freedom of speech, you've got free religion, you've got property, and you've got movement. But punishment and tax office, you can't control that. So you decide to say, okay, I'll give this responsibility to the government as a social contract to protect what is important to you, which is freedom of speech and freedom of religion and property and movement, right? But then, when the government starts acting according to its own way, you start saying, no, this is wrong. But don't forget, you've paid all that for them to sustain freedom of speech, freedom of religion. And for them to sustain freedom of speech, freedom of religion, property and movement, they must have institutions in place, which is the police, the hospitals, and this and that. So what is happening in Zimbabwe is that you've got a bucket, which is like the tax collector's money, and you've got water pouring in, which is the money, but you've got holes at the bottom of the bucket. So the taxpayers' money is coming in, but then you've got holes at the bucket, so the taxpayers' money is becoming nothing. That's when you see men start fighting men, and everything devolves. So now it starts with discipline. If you want to follow the democratic way, it starts with discipline. That means you do not have to employ your relatives as the government. The difference between the rich countries and the poor countries is that our own government chooses people according to the people they know, but they don't choose people according to qualification. So when the people come in now, they're hungry and they just want to take, forgetting that this life is not permanent, it's just for rent. We are not going to live permanent in this life. So if you look at it now, listen, I can see people were saying, oh, you've got this kind of views there. I'm not here for that. I'm just here to pass the message. So if this doesn't interest you, what I'm saying, just skip and just say that lady likes her own voice, okay? Because we are moving forward, okay? We're not into these views and this and that, okay? We're just moving forward. So if you look at progress of a country, you see there are three things. You've got one, institutions, you've got two, cultural, and you've got the third one, geographical. The first one is institutions. In rich countries, right, they've got hospitals, they've got police, they've got all that is controlled, okay? In poor countries now, we've got corruption, which influences that you can't build a hospital or this and that, and you employ, in poor countries, they employ their relatives more than they would employ qualifications. So that's the difference between rich countries and poor countries. And culturally, the 19 richest countries say religion is not important. Okay? So the richest countries, they say religion is not important. So we need to really take a look at that. Is religion important for us, or is it not important? Why is it that in rich countries religion is not important but they are rich? In poor countries religion is important but they're poor? I'll tell you an answer to that. Religion is important in poor countries because it gives them an illusion of hope. It tells them that if you can't live in this country with your gold, then you will live in heaven. You see now, which is one of the saddest things, to think that religion was introduced to Africa because we're so poor that we have to live on an illusion, to think, I'm so poor in Africa, then I'm going to be rich in heaven. Then you need to look at who introduced Christianity to you as an African. And then we've got geographical issues. Despite thinking that Mnangagwa is not ruling well, or who is not ruling well, we've got geographical and tropical diseases which affect plant animals like tsetse flies, right? So we need to look at those things, that the geographical where we are, it's not really favorable to the economy in terms of production. Okay, let's see what other people were saying here. Do I have anything to say here? Okay, let's see. Okay, so like we said, Tongogara, Comrade Tongogara said that he would rather live in a socialist country than a capitalist country. So we need to try and find out the difference between socialism and capitalism. And Tongogara Comrade said, we must befriend anyone who loves us. Is that what is happening in Zimbabwe today? And then Comrade Edson Shobo said, we are fighting for freedom. No one should sleep with their doors barricaded. No one should be petrified. And that was in 1979. I was born in 1979. Is that what we are feeling today? Edson Shobo said, we are fighting for freedom. No one should sleep with their doors barricaded. No one should be petrified. And that was in 1979. And Comrade Tongogara goes on to say he wants to see both black and white youths happy. Do we see both black and white youths happy today? So we need to ask ourselves that. And then some person who inboxed me was very afraid about the Chinese people in Africa. Someone said that Africa is China's China, okay? Because we are owing a lot of debt to Chinese people, okay? We've got 5 countries who top a lot of debt in Africa, okay? So these countries now, the 5th country was Sudan. Sudan owes 4.5 billion to China. And Republic of Congo, there are 2 different Congos, but this one, Republic of Congo, owes 7.8 billion. Kenya owes 8 billion, and Ethiopia owes 25 billion, and Angola owes 18 billion. So people are now scared that these Chinese people, if they come to recolonize, because what they're doing is that they're telling the government, we're going to give you this much money, and the government can't sustain to pay that much money, and then the Chinese people are putting some kind of contract that the government cannot sustain, okay? So eventually it means if we are not careful, Africa as a whole or Zimbabwe could be colonized by the Chinese. So instead of fighting your brother Nelson Chamisa and his party, instead of fighting your brother ZANU-PF, you need to be asking yourself, what are the Chinese people doing in our country? Because we did hear they did build the African unity union in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, and it was all backed. And we hear that they're building this kind of infrastructures around Africa. Some of the infrastructures, some people are saying that the Chinese know they're going to come in those infrastructures and rule Africa. So me and you need to ask ourselves, are we going to be recolonized by the Chinese? All right. I love you guys. Happy independence. We need to support our leaders, and our leaders need to come to us, and they need to talk to us and tell us the truth, because I think we will not be forgiving if we hear that our ex-president Robert Mugabe is passed away without telling us what happened before we were born. Like I said, I'm 40 years old, and this is the height of the independence of Zimbabwe and how old the independence of Zimbabwe is. Have we progressed or have we regressed? So please, can you please tell us the truth? Presidents, please tell us the truth. We do understand when you were fighting for freedom, you had to go through thick and thin. So as I had to hold my own children hostage to get freedom. And all that is forgiven, but we must move on. We must tell the truth. We must tell the truth to the Zimbabwean community what really happened in the 1800s, in the 1900s, 1950, 1960, 1970, 1980. Just tell us the truth. Let us understand. And let us understand why politics and churches are not working. Let us understand why the government of Zimbabwe is letting people like Prophet Magaya get away with it when they put oil on people's seats and they produce this aguma. Please let us understand, are we citizens of Zimbabwe no longer important? If we are no longer important, please just tell us so, because the truth is that here in the diaspora, we are not satisfied. We've had to fight through thick and thin to be where we are, to be, to supply even there in Zimbabwe. So please, the government, please just try to understand that we Zimbabwean children have tried by all means to be very patient, to think that you are going to look for a solution, but so far there is no solution coming up. Tell us the truth about sanctions. Tell us what is really happening, because let me tell you something, when you come here on social media, that's when you understand what is really happening. And some of us are not even getting paid for being celebrities, just to get the point across to the people that we must be strong. Yet when we look at the government, we see they are living flamboyant lives with their children. You must understand this life is not forever, it's for rent. One of the inboxers said, no Zimbabwean should be called enemy of state, as they go to the enemy on the process and lose expertise. Okay, so this person who has come here, this person who inboxed me said, no Zimbabwean should be called an enemy of the state, as they will go to the enemy now. You see? So when you call another Zimbabwean an enemy of the state, they're going to go to the enemy now and sell you out, or whatever they're going to say. Therefore, we lose expertise, knowledge, and wisdom. And I'll give you a typical example. If an American citizen is stuck somewhere, what do you hear them saying? I'm an American citizen, I'm an American citizen, and this and that. Then why are we as Zimbabweans calling each other an enemy of the state, and you outcast them because of their opinions, and they've really killed somebody? So This is a very important inbox which I received to say the Zimbabwean government, no one should be called enemy of the state, because you are now losing expertise, you are now losing knowledge, and you are now losing wisdom. And there's another caller who inboxed me and said in 2017, they don't really understand what really transpired. So they're saying that how can you expect we Zimbabweans to come with a solution when we really don't understand what happened? Another inboxer said that compensating to the colonizers. There was 2 weeks ago, there is an article which came out to say that the Zimbabwean government was going to compensate to the colonizers. And one of the inboxers said, how can you compensate to the colonizers when you have not finished with the Chimani money? With the Chimani money solutions. So this caller said that year on year in Zimbabwe, we have cheap politics. People don't challenge policies in the courts. So they're saying that here in Zimbabwe, we've got cheap policies. People don't challenge the policies in court. Okay, we've said what we've had to say. Instead of looking at your brother as an opposition party, are you looking at China coming in? Are you looking at how you are going to pay the debt? The good news is that I can only say that Zimbabwe is not on the list of the Chinese debt. Okay, so Zimbabweans, we need to be strong again. Okay. We need to be very strong again. I understand what we've gone through in the diaspora, and I hope the government will understand what we have gone through in the diaspora. People are now jealous of each other. They're now competitive against each other. They're now stealing each other's ideas. The world, according to Zimbabweans here, it is really, the world that revolves in Zimbabwe is really changed. So we are appealing to the government of Zimbabwe, to the opposition party and the current government, that this party politics, where is it going to lead us? Because this opposition party who is going to come and be the current president is just going to come and show us what the current president, what the residing president then did wrong. And they're just going to take what they have to do, because they just have to take what they have to take, because they can't fix the problems what the other one left. And the next opposition party will be coming in again and saying that we can fix this. And then the circle goes on. So how long are we Zimbabweans going to watch this kind of party politics going on, yet we can't even look after our own families? All we have to do is to attend parties and sing some chanting songs to support a certain politics. So please, Mr. President and Mr. Robert Mugabe, come out, tell people the truth. I held my children hostage to give them a future which I thought was a future in England. So can you come out before the end of days and tell the future generation what really happened before independence, and what is politics, what is democracy, and who is Jesus? And who is the Mambos and who are the chiefs? Tell us all that, because we do not know that, because we are told if we try to question history, it means you're an outcast. So me, like I said, as Mama Mandela, I held my children hostage so that people can be freed in South Africa, but unfortunately, it didn't go according. So I'm coming here on Independence Day and tell the government of Zimbabwe that we as Zimbabwe children, we are suffering. We are suffering. You cannot imagine how much we are suffering. Like I said, some were being racially abused, some are being trafficked, some are being domestically violated, some are finding papers, and when they look for papers, they have to go through dramatic ways to get their status in this country. So please, Zimbabwean government, try and listen to us, the people, that we respect you so much. We love you so much. We Zimbabweans are very forgiving people. It's high time you just tell us what is really happening to our country, because the children of Zimbabwe have scattered. The children of Zimbabwe have scattered all over the world, but we are not happy. That's all I can tell you on behalf of the children in the diaspora. We are not happy. And when we come home, there's also nothing to come for, because we'll be just starting. So please try to find a national agenda which can accommodate our traditional values, and try to question what you brought into the country when you got independence and what you didn't discard. This is what the People's Voice is saying. I love you guys. This is Mama Mandela, and goodbye. Okay. Bye-bye, guys.